Hi, I'm Billie and I'm a teaching artist with LACMA. Today we're going to be doing an art making project using materials that hopefully you can find around your house. We're going to be creating a 3D landscape using paper. So you can see a couple examples here. What you're going to need for this project is some tape. So I have some clear tape here, which is best, but you can use masking tape or any other kind of tape that you have around the house. You will also need a pair of scissors, any old pair of scissors. You'll need some paper. I'm using plain printer paper, but if you have lined paper or gridded paper, anything you have around the house, you can use that too. And then you will also need a cardboard base. So this is a little more sturdy. It's what we're going to build on top of, build our landscape onto. It can be side of a cardboard box, cereal packet, something like that, about this size. You will also need a ruler. You'll need a permanent marker or some other kind of black marker. And you will also need a pencil. So make sure that you've got all those materials ready. You can also do this with family members, brothers, sisters, anyone else in your house, or you can do it on your own. It's totally up to you. So the artist that inspired this project in LACMA's collection is Chris Burden, his artwork Metropolis II. So the artwork is a really lively installation that takes inspiration from both the city of LA, which is where Chris Burden lives, but also cities all over the world. It represents that idea of the busy, fast-paced, moving city as the cars kind of zoom around the installation. Burden also included some buildings that might remind us of different buildings in cities in different places, such as the Eiffel Tower, for example. So it's meant to represent a kind of both a real and kind of imagined city. So for me, I've been, looking outside of my window and looking for inspiration in my environment, and I see a lot of palm trees outside. And at this time, when things in cities are a little slower than usual, I decided for my landscape to focus a little bit more on natural forms. So I'm going to show you how to make a few of these things, and then you can kind of use your own imagination, can take inspiration from what you see outside and then go from there. So I'll start with this palm tree here. The first thing that you want to do, I'm going to kind of move everything out of the way, get yourself a clear space. It's a smart idea first, before you start, to take some pieces of tape and just put them on the side of the table or wherever you're working, somewhere accessible, so that they're ready for you and you have your hands free to work. So I'm just going to put some tape down the side there. So you're going to take one whole sheet of paper to do your tree trunk, and that's because you want it to be quite sturdy rather than using just a small strip of paper. And I'm going to start to roll my paper nice and tightly and kind of at a slight angle. And the reason I'm doing that is because with trees, you'll see that the tree trunk is usually wider at the base than it is at the top, especially with palm trees. So I'm going to roll it nice and tight all the way. And then when I've reached the end of my paper, I'm going to take a piece of tape and secure it. And you'll see here that this piece is kind of hanging out. We don't want that. So I'm going to take another piece of tape and secure that bit in there at the end. Okay, like so. Smooth it around. Just make sure it's all smoothed out. And there you go, you've got your tree trunk. So the next thing I'm going to do is take a pair of scissors and make cuts in the base of my tree trunk. And these are going to create my roots. These are what are going to create the base for my tree, what's going to help my tree stand up. So I'm going to make 4 cuts equal distance apart around the base of the tree trunk. And you want them to all finish at about the same height, the roots, the cuts that you make, because otherwise your tree will be wonky. So, like so. Here we go. So I've made my cuts, I think they're all equal. I'm going to now fold back the paper so that my roots kind of stretch out like this. Okay, so I get a kind of flat base like that. There we go. So then I'm going to bring my cardboard base back in, and I'm going to, there we go, I think that stands pretty straight. So I'm going to take pieces of tape again, and right where the root meets the base of the trunk, I'm going to put some tape so that it's nice and strong. If you do it over here, like at the end, it's going to kind of flop about. So do it nice and strong, right where that root meets the base of the trunk. I'm only going to do it, put tape on 2 sides, but you should do all 4. I'm just doing 2 for the sake of time, like so. So there we go. I now have my tree trunk. So the next thing I'm going to do is create these leaves. So these kind of curled over leaves that represent the palm tree leaves. The way that you do this is using a technique that sometimes is used to curl the strings in party balloons. So those satin ribbons, you use this technique to curl them. I don't know if you've ever had a birthday party with curly ribbons on your balloons. So the first thing you're going to do is cut a strip of paper, not too long, and I'm going to fold it over in half like this. So just pinch it, fold it in half. The reason I'm doing this is because this creates me 2 leaves for the price of 1. So instead of having to do this lots and lots of times, I can create 2 by folding my paper. And the technique I'm going to use to curl the paper is to place my thumb against the back of a closed pair of scissors like this. So your scissors should be closed. Place your thumb against the back like this. And then you place the paper, pinching the folded end, between your thumb and the back of the scissors like this. And then you're just going to very gently pull your paper through your thumb and the back of the scissors till you get a curl like that. And if you're like, it's not curly enough for me, or one piece isn't, you can do it again till you get the kind of curl that you want, like so. So now I have this piece. I'm going to bring my tree trunk back in, and I'm going to take another piece of tape and secure my 2 curly leaves to the top of my tree trunk like this. I'm just going to wrap that tape around like so. There you go. And there goes the beginning of my palm tree. And you can see what I did here. You just keep adding them all the way around. And see, again, this is why it's great to do this with family members, because you can have multiple people making your leaves and kind of build your palm tree together. The next thing I'm going to show you is talk you through some of the other things that I've done in my example. So you can see that technique of curling the paper. I've actually used it to create kind of gatherings of curls to look like a type of plant, almost like a spider plant, or like the plant you can see behind me here. I also used that curling method to create waves. So I decided from my imagination, I added a river, which Chris Burden also added things from his imagination, not the exact buildings or exact cars. He kind of made his own designs. So feel free to use your imagination. I don't have a river outside. I also added hills by folding and cutting, making little tabs down the bottom. And these springs I made as well, which kind of represent almost like ferns or grass to me. And you do that by folding a strip of paper back and forth, and then taping it at the base like this. I also made a different type of tree with branches, and I even used coloured paper over here to create kind of foliage. But if you want to make a different kind of landscape, not one that's full of natural forms like I did, and you want to do something that has maybe buildings or cars, you can fold the paper into buildings, or I'll show you now a little bit more of a complex technique to create a paper car. So you can see I did right here is the paper car. There are lots of ways to do this that you can find online, and I'm just going to show you one particular way. First thing I'm going to do is take a sheet of paper, and then I'm going to draw. I've done this ahead of time, so I'm going to draw an upside down T shape. I kind of folded my paper over just so it's easy to show you. I have an upside down T shape. Now this is 1 inch wide, these two bars of my T, two rectangles. So this is 1 inch wide, 1 inch wide. From the top here to the bottom of the T shape, this is 5 inches. And from here to the end of my lines on the bottom of the T, upside down T, this is 8 inches. So 8 inches, 5 inches, 1 inch wide. Okay, so once you've drawn your upside down T shape like this, you will start to add some other details. So you will start to add some wheels at the bottom. They don't have to be perfect, but you can see if you need help with the proportions, they're kind of a finger width apart like this and about finger wide, just about. It doesn't have to be exact, but about the same on each side would be good. The next thing you're going to do is kind of create a curved shape at the end of the T here and here. So you can see here it almost looks like the nose of a plane. This is actually, think about this as the bonnet of your car, so sloping back like that. Okay, that's important. And then finally, you will add these two semicircles at the top here. This is what is going to slot in to the top of your car. So take a closer look at that. That's how it should look at this stage. Okay, then once you are finished doing that, you're going to take your permanent marker, because this will help your lines to stand out a little bit better, and you're going to outline everything on your car template. So I've even started to add little dots to represent the centers of the wheels. You could add more texture and detail, and then outline, you know, all of the parts that I've outlined there, kind of as exactly as you see it. Okay. So once you have outlined all of those different parts, I'm going to show you 4 lines that you need to draw onto your template here. So I'm going to show you the 4 lines. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I've just made 4 lines, 2 lines at the top here, into halfway into those semicircles that I mentioned. It's very important it's only halfway. These are going to be cut to be slots that slot your car together. So it's important not to cut all the way, like to draw your line all the way, just halfway like this. So halfway down, and then 2 more sort of diagonal lines going towards the edge of your curved bonnet like this. So just as exactly as you see it, diagonal pointing this way, about halfway down your T, and half diagonally down that way as well. Okay, so once you've done that, you're going to cut out your entire T shape like this, cut it out. And the next thing that you're going to do is take your pair of scissors again and make some little cuts along each of those 4 lines that we just drew. Those the 2 halfway lines down into those semicircles and the diagonal lines at each side. So you can see I just made cut here, 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 and here. Okay. And then once you've done that, you're going to fold along the back of your car, these 2 pencil lines here and here. So I'll show you. I'm going to fold just straight along those lines like this. Okay, all right. So now you have the beginnings of your car. The next thing that you're going to do is slot. This is where the cuts come into play. You're going to slot the one of your cuts into the other. So you can see that I'm slotting them in, and it takes a little bit of a wiggle. So I've done one side, and now I need to do the other. So I'm going to slot this into here, like so. Move it around till I'm happy with it. Ooh, and sometimes you might need to kind of wiggle things around, reshake your car till you get it into a position that you want it. There we go. So you can see I've made my paper car. And what's great about these now is it's very easy, because you know it seems a little plain, maybe you want to add some more details. So you can take it and it's very easy to open up, unslot again. See, I didn't even use tape for this, just paper. And you can start to add some other details. So I added a car door here in between my two wheels. I added a windscreen, a curved one. You could add different details. You could also take colouring pencils or other things and add colour and detail to your cars that way as well. So basically that's two techniques, and I showed you a few others as well. But really use your imagination, test out your sculpting skills with paper, because you can do all kinds of wonderful things. And especially if you have different members of your family do it, they can make different things for you, and you can kind of build your landscapes together. So I hope you have a great time making art at home on your own or together with your family using materials that we use every day. So thank you, and I'll hope to see you all soon. Bye.